Just before we get into today's show, we got to get through the efRouting top hauls of the week. Coming in at number one for dry vans is going to be Chicago, Illinois, over to Allentown. About $7.30 on the miles, $2 to 2.3 on the top end. Pretty rough rates out there on the dry van side, especially going northeast. Coming in at number two is going to be a Columbus, Ohio to Philadelphia. About $4.50 on the miles, 2.3 to 2.8. Much better rate there on the dry van side. Number one for reefer is going to be a Philadelphia over to Manchester, about $3.80 on the miles, 3.36 to 3.8 on the top end. And a Chicago over to New York, $8.18 on the miles, 2.5 to 2.75 on the high end. You jump into flatbed, we got Demopolis over to Dayton, almost 600 miles, 2.14 to 2.7 on the top end, and a Demopolis, Alabama over to Madison, Wisconsin, $8.50 on the miles, 2.3 to 2.5, all pretty standard freight out there this week. Best loop for dry vans is going to be Albany, Georgia, over to Philadelphia, Mississippi, then Lake Charles, Chicago, Orlando, back to Albany, Georgia. Regular work week, about $7,000 to 8.3 on the top end. Good gross on the top end, good RPM even on the low end there for dry vans. Pretty solid loop, actually. And we jump into the reefer loop. I'm going to start out in Fayetteville, Arkansas, head over to Baltimore, Springfield, Mass., Carlisle, PA, back to Springfield, Philadelphia, and back to Arkansas. A little bit of a longer work week, going between $9,000 and almost $10,000. Again, solid RPM there. And for flatbed, we got on Orangeburg, South Carolina, over to Philly, then Pittsburgh, Carrollton, Kentucky, Houston, Dallas, back to Orangeburg. Standard work week, basically $10,000 on the low end, 11 on the high end. Very good RPM. Flatbed is doing very good this week. That's going to wrap up the efRouting top hauls of the week.
Acid based here with Marco. Acid based here with Frank. So we're here with Marina. I'm here with Sam. Acid based here with Samir. Freight carrier sitting with Fook. Acid based here with Duke. Acid based here with Augie. Acid based here with Hector. Acid based here with Dayan.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Asset-Based episode number. I'm not quite sure. As we're running a recording, I decided to make a shotgun decision. Come out to Sweden. I booked my flight. I was at the airport within 3 hours. 3 hours later, I was in Sweden. Going to be joined today by Ashley Smith of Navix. Let's get right into today's show. How's it going, Ashley?
Good.
Thank you for joining me. And like I said, I do apologize. We're not going to run it live like we had discussed. But like I said, I made some very last minute decisions and ended up in a hotel in Stockholm. So
all good. Yeah. Plans change.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get right into it today. How did you end up in logistics? What was your first role in this industry?
I started out in entry-level sales. So I kind of fell into logistics. I majored in hospitality management, which was events and weddings and catering and everything. So when I left my last catering job, I was looking for something that had more like long-term customer relationships, because you get to know these people really really well for like 9 months while you help plan their weddings, and then they're gone forever.
And then you never talk to them ever again.
Yeah.
Or hopefully you never talk to them
Yeah, hopefully you
ever.
never talk to him again. Yeah, so I just kind of stumbled across a posting for my first logistics company, first and only, Sun City Group, just entry-level sales. And I thought, well, this kind of seems like a hidden world. Like that's what I liked about catering is you see the final product, but you never really think about how that gets, that plate gets on the table, how the event gets set up. And logistics was really similar. It's just this hidden process. It's hidden in plain sight. You see trucks everywhere, but you just don't really think about it. So that was
Jennifer Morris kind of said it the best. It's the largest industry in the world that nobody knows anything about.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was really intriguing. I caught the bug with that first role and just kind of worked my way up from there.
So take me through the first role just before you proceed. Entry-level sales and logistics. Can we go a little deeper into that? I mean, what were you doing? Cold calling shippers, cold calling carriers?
Yeah. So I was shipper focused on getting new business, new shipments, new accounts. My first few weeks, it was taking courses online. I took some TIA course, like basic courses, I think, and then kind of sat with my manager and was like, all right, how do I find some shippers?
Yeah, I mean, that's just the simple process. Shadow somebody, listen to a few phone calls for week 2, 3, 4, and then hey, just here's a list, have fun.
Right. Well, luckily, I really liked the approach at Sun City. They were more, hey, you go find the shippers that you're going to have a connection to. You might be passionate about, a certain thing. And I posted recently on LinkedIn, but if you think, hey, I really love tennis, think about the rackets, the shoes, the clothes, the balls, like everything that you could say, I'm really passionate about this sport. And then when I reach out to these shippers, it's more of a, hey, I really love your blank. I, use it all the time. And you have that warm intro instead of just calling off lists to say, hey, do you have any freight?
It's not funny. It's good advice. It just made me think, since we're mostly in the flatbed world, to be like, hey, I really love your steel coils.
Really love them.
Well, I use them all the time. I got a couple steel coils out in the back.
I use them all the time. Yeah. But honestly, though, there was a company here in DFW that it was kind of like, it was building materials, but they did this big project for this really special, cool building, in Plano. But it was, hey, I drive past this building all the time. I know they used your guys' blank, it's that warm intro that got us a meeting. They hated brokers. They would have never responded if they weren't like, oh, well, we thought that you really knew something about our stuff because of what your outreach said.
Yeah, I think it might have been the very last podcast, if I'm not mistaken, where the guest had said, you have to do your research. You have to know some tidbit about who you're calling and some cool little fact. Just don't overdo it. But I think that's a really cool outreach. Hey, I know your bricks went into that building or I drive past it. That's a really interesting personal approach to go into shipper cold calls.
Yeah, that's how I got my start. And to be, not like, oh, look at me, but I did really well. Those first few years as just sales. I was promoted to a sales manager pretty quickly. And then I worked my way up to being a branch manager for our office here in the DFW area.
So let's go through the process a little bit step by step here. I mean, you start getting some customers. Are you moving the freight at all? Or are you doing just the sales, this kind of split model, someone else covering the freight?
Right. We were traditionally a split model, but of course, all hands on deck. If we had something that had to get covered, everybody was hopping in, calling, off of the load boards, calling previous carriers we had used. So you kind of get to dabble in everything, even if it is the split model.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the perks of working. I mean, I don't know how large that company was, but I would assume it's sub 100 people, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the perks of working in those smaller environments, is you do get to wear multiple hats. You do get to kind of touch everything, even if it's not meant to be your role. I mean, there's no such thing as not my job in logistics. If something needs to happen, we're all going to do it. So.
Yeah. And I loved that too, because, coming from hospitality where it's like, whatever that person needs, if you're the person there, you help them. That customer service aspect, I really loved that about transportation. And we grew the company size while I was there. Sun City recently sold to IEL in the last couple of years. So they made it, right?
I mean, I have a love-hate relationship as a carrier with IEL. Most of the time, absolutely loved them. Here and there, I guess they probably have agents here and there. I was like, Jesus, how are you guys still working here? But I would say overwhelmingly positive.
positive. I did enjoy working with IEL.
Yeah.
Take me through kind of the timeline. I forgot to ask you, what year did you get into this role? And I mean, what year did you exit this role?
Yeah, so I got into the entry-level sales role in 2017, promoted to a manager within the next year, and I was a branch manager, and I have my LinkedIn profile pulled up because I knew you were going to ask, but I was promoted to a branch manager in 2021, and if you can see over here, my lovely CTB, Certified Transportation Broker Certificate, I had to pass that course in order to become a branch manager.
I'm so happy that you brought that up because I've seen it on your LinkedIn, Ashley Smith CTB, and I was always too lazy to like Google like what the CTB stand for. So I'm so happy to hear it's like, Certified Transportation
Transportation Broker. Yeah, I was a branch manager 2021 after passing the course, of course. And then
take me through the course quickly. Just explain to me the length of it, the duration, like, everything from start to finish. How did you achieve that? And what goes into it?
It was like a college course. It was you started, I did like a fall one. So started as you would like in a fall semester in a college course. There were quizzes and stuff along the way. It was all online. So it was kind of at your own pace. But the very end, they had these tests that you had to take. They were hard, right? The course covered everything that you would need to know to go and start a brokerage, basically. So insurance information, like liability, it covered everything from everything you'd need to know. If I was like, hey, I just want to go start a brokerage, that would get you like a crash course to say, you need to think about all these things and know all these things.
Okay, so I mean, after obviously completing it for the reasons you completed it, and it wasn't like you just out of the blue were like, hey, I'm going to do this. Would you say that people would benefit from this being sort of a mandatory thing? This is a whole different can of worms I don't really want to get into.
Right.
But I understand, like there's a really low, bar of entry into logistics. And I mean, you have to have a license to trade stocks. You have to have a license and a degree for certain things. And would you say that this would be a beneficial step for our industry to kind of make this a mandatory entry?
It was really hard. I'll say that. So the test itself was hard to pass, and I would consider myself like pretty intelligent and like a good test taker and all of that. But I think it's beneficial. It's things that you don't typically think about. And if you're just, out there slinging freight and not thinking about, I booked a shipment on a carrier that may not have the liability insurance on their whole fleet. It's just on this one truck. It's just things that, this is why all of these rules are in place at my company. This is why we do follow the procedures that we do. But I would say it's definitely beneficial if you want to go start a brokerage. But even if you're just like, hey, I kind of want to take the next step or, take it to the next level in my career, I think there's a lot of good information in there.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Maybe this isn't the course that we make the bar to entry for logistics. Maybe we're going to have to make
I don't know if there'd be many.
But I don't know. I'm interested in the idea. I don't think it's really a bad idea to have some sort of standardized entry into logistics where you can't be a part of this industry if you don't know like certain aspects of the industry. I think it would solve a lot of problems. I'm not the guy that's going to implement that. I don't know how that's going to work. I'm just saying general vague ideas here.
But their entry, they had a course that I took when I first started though. And that one, I think it was definitely like, hey, here's like, bam, transportation terminology, pretty much. This is how transportation works. I think that one would be super.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like transportation works on paper very simple. You put stuff in a truck and it goes somewhere. And that's the kind of the issue with this whole discussion is like, even if you have like all these degrees and all these things, you could sit at, in front of the computer and you'll see like, hey, my truck caught on fire. Like, oh, didn't teach me that one. Didn't prepare for that. Or, some guy has the 17 carrier things duct tape onto his side of his truck. I mean, there's things they're not going to be able to prepare you for.
For sure. Yeah.
But let's get into the management side of things. I mean, before we head into the current day stuff, how did you want to go into management? How many people were you dealing with? What were some kind of like pros and cons? I mean, how was your time in management? Since obviously high performers do not translate immediately into great managers.
Yeah. I think, I did have a background. I was, so transportation is like my fourth career, I like to say. So I was a coach in a previous career. I was a CrossFit and Olympic weightlifting coach. I think that actually helped me in my management role. I do actually like teaching and leading people. And, you know, I'm more of a inspirational boss and not like a, hey, I'm going to give you a bunch of tasks to go complete. It's like, hey, how can I help you complete everything you need to? Or you're performing here and I know you want to perform here because we've had those talks about your goals. Like, what can I do to help you? What tools do you need or training or, you know, how can I free up more time for you to get those goals? So in my mind, a manager's job is to make everybody below them, all their jobs easier. So if it's getting stuff out of the way, if it's, well, hey, it's really hard to work in this tool that we have, like, let me see how you're doing it. Maybe there's a better way, maybe there's a better tool, right? So it was always my goal to get my employees to reach their goals. That was me.
Wow, that's one of the best kind of run-throughs of management. I really like the idea you touched on. The manager's role is to just kind of free up everybody else and to kind of help them reach their goals collectively. I think that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, and so I did really enjoy it.
The only reason I ask you this, which makes me laugh, is because we had I can't remember who it was. I honestly, I really don't remember. And they were like, you know, I was at a company 10 years and I quit because they put me in management. Like, I always think about that because he didn't want to be in management. They just forced him into it.
Yeah, like you've been here long enough.
Yeah, like you're the highest performer. You're going to manage everybody. Like, that's not how it works.
Right. And they did ask about it before, and then it was, well, here's what you're going to have to do to get that job, right? Take the course and do these things. And so it was kind of like a 6-month process to become that branch manager. The leadership at Sun City was great, and
yeah, I mean, that sounds like one of the most thought out like processes I've ever heard in my life. Usually it's like somebody walks into an office and be like, hey, you, like today, yep, you're the manager now, like figure it out. That's
manager quit, he's out, you're in.
Yeah, like just literally like sit on the bench. All right, next. Like, so a 6-month process. That's really cool and well thought out for sure.
Yeah.
Let's go through, I mean, the end. I mean, how did you end up leaving? Why did you step out of that situation? And I mean, what was the next step in your career?
Pretty early on when I was in sales, we had an asset MC that we reactivated. So I went through that whole process to reactivate the asset MC and signed on some owner operators for straight trucks. And this is a weird way of me transitioning into why I quit. I didn't quit because of the assets.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, was it because you had to start dealing with drivers and the carriers?
No. So it opened a ton of doors, and my husband is actually one of our owner operators. So
oh wow, okay,
so story that's there.
A part of the story we haven't touched on. That's crazy.
Yeah, and my father-in-law ended up becoming one as well.
Wow, so for the box truck business, like as
yes.
Wow, that's crazy. That's pretty cool. So did they have like a history in that, or they just did it because you were doing it?
Kind of. So their family has a family business. It's like fabrication and things. And so,
so they've
my
been
husband
around
had done deliveries and, smaller scale, but not like full scale. I'm going to be a driver, owner operator.
Yeah, that was just like I don't know, the spoils of war of having, manufacturing company. You have to ship stuff places.
Yeah, you got to get it around town. Exactly. Yeah. So they had dabbled, but then it was full blown, like, let's do this. Let's go buy a truck, the whole thing. So that was a ton of fun. I loved, and one of my stories last week on LinkedIn was my husband's at this warehouse that I spoke to the guy to schedule it. So of course my husband's texting me exactly what this guy's trying to tell him. Right. And he's like, no, I told them earlier and all this. And I'm like, absolutely not. Like,
you're the one scheduling his freight and it's going wrong. And like, what's he supposed to do? Like...
Right. So that was, and I think, I posted last week. I might be posting it this Thursday, but sometimes it's not broker versus carrier. Sometimes it really is like that third party that's just throwing a wrench in because they know or they assume you don't talk, right?
No, yeah, I want to actually highlight that very much because I don't know how well you know me. Maybe you don't know me very well at all. And I started my LinkedIn career as like the outspoken dispatcher carrier who just like was dunking on brokers left and right. There's things that I've now learned now that I've been in brokerage where I'm like, wow, I was like just, out of line. Like, because there is that third party. Like, you always assume the broker's lying to you when you're a carrier and that like vice versa. And then like once you've been on both sides, you see the tricks and you see like the pitfalls of everyone.
Yeah.
And like it usually ends up being just like some dock worker didn't care, slapped the sticker on the wrong thing, and now like everyone looks bad. And I started to realize that there's just some third party randomly that's screwing up loads. So.
Right. You never know whose fault it is. I think, you know, it's the communication that counts. And
yeah, that's the thing. Let's not harp on what's happening. How do we fix it? How do we move forward? Like that was something that took me a long time in my career to learn. But it's like what happened. Like, how do we fix it? Where do we go from here?
Right. Yeah. And of course, I am a chronic overthinker. So I do want to know who did it and
I also like to know just for personal reasons.
Yeah. I want to know like who did actually do it though. So yeah, with that story, he did get loaded. He did take that and they just left the extra pallet off because it wouldn't fit. And it's not our fault, right? But again, if he wasn't texting me, I wouldn't have known what the worker was telling him. I wouldn't have known what I had talked to earlier, right? But yeah, I want to start highlighting some more of those stories. Just again, having the owner operators, being a broker, I think there's just so many times that it was like, it really wasn't either party. It was the third party.
No, I think if everybody just was able to like, I had an owner op when I started in logistics, like my first few months. And he told me, you know, man, you got to keep it like in motion with no emotion. And I just kind of like held on to that. I mean, that was tough. I mean, the first year or two, I was like kind of yelling at everybody.
Get mad,
but I think, you know, everyone would benefit from just being less emotional and less in the moment and more just like polite, right? Because you're not going to solve much by screaming and yelling at each other. And like, if your first interaction with the driver to the broker is like, hey, I'm not getting loaded, you suck at your job. It's like the broker's not going to feel inclined to want to help you. The shipper's not going to feel inclined to want to help you, or like vice versa. You know, I think just clear, polite communication would just go a long way in this industry.
100%. Yeah. And also just trying to put yourself in their shoes. Like I knew the crap that my husband had to deal with on the daily. And like, it's like things that you just don't even think about. Like there's no bathrooms, you know, like that's just a little inconvenience every single day. Right.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. We don't know what it's like to be a truck driver. And like, unless we go and do that, we can hear the stories all we want, but we'll never be able to say, oh, I get it. Like we don't, right? And that's something I think brokers need to put themselves in the driver's shoes sometimes. It's not a guy in a video game with, you know, the tracking just going along. Like that's a human in a truck who's living in a box. Like,
yeah. And when I first started in Sun City, my sales manager, he took me to the closest big truck stop and we kind of just sat there and like watched and walked around and everything. And that was when I was still learning, you know, what's an RGN and all this.
That's smart. Yeah, that's actually that's really cool.
Yeah. And then later on, when my husband was driving, there was like the day before Thanksgiving, it was like, hey, we have this monster multi-stop route, but it ends up sort of close to like where my parents live. So I'll just ride along, right? So I got to be a trucker for a day. And I know that there's a debate, straight truckers versus real truckers, but I got to be a straight truck driver for a day.
Oh my God, that's actually hilarious.
I know. They were like, straight truck drivers don't count. And I'm like, they actually have to do liftgate and like, you know, inside
white glove service. That's their catchphrase for why they charge $17 a mile. White glove service.
They're not bumping docks and like, I'm not getting out of my truck, you load it, right?
That's hilarious. Straight trucks versus real drivers.
Yeah.
But all right, so
yeah,
how do you end up fully out of this? How do you end up where you are today? I mean, take us through the end and the beginning.
Right. So throughout the whole time I was at Sun City, I started out unmarried, free, and, you know, unburdened, I guess, no responsibilities. And then got married, had a kid 10 months later, and then now
I can already see the trend of where being
the trend of what's going on, right?
Doesn't really fit anymore.
Yeah, so it does. So I do think that you could have, you know, full-time logistics career and still have a bunch of kiddos and family and all of that. But when I had my second kid, and I went on maternity leave. We ended up actually losing my father-in-law during that time. So it was a very like, just had a baby a few weeks ago. We lost my father-in-law kind of unexpected. And it was this like, just like hailstorm of emotions of like, I don't have time, like not a day to day, but like, I don't know how much time I have in my life. And,
a lot of self-reflection is going to go on in a situation like that for sure.
Yes. And at the time I was driving an hour each way, to the office every day. And I just had this like almost like breakdown of like, I can't put this newborn and my other kid in daycare for like 10 hours a day. Like it was just eating me alive. But the alternative was that I had hired and trained and everybody in our office. So it was like, I have my home babies and I have my work children, right? I never called them that to their face.
I didn't say that out loud. Just kind of
didn't say that out loud. But like, and as a goal-oriented manager, it's like, I know these people have all these goals and their dreams and, trying to help them accomplish that. But it was really just this internal struggle I was having of like, I can't have them in the daycare that long. And what if I die in 2 years and 3 years? Like, it really makes you think, right?
Yeah, I got hit hard with that LinkedIn post. I can't remember who made it. It might have been JJ, a friend of mine, business partner of mine, where he was like, I'm pretty sure it was him a few months back. It's like his daughter comes downstairs, he's on the phone and like she throws like a ball at him, like runs away, and like he's just focused on his work. And he's like, like the people I was doing business with 5 years ago, like I'm not doing business with most of them, maybe like a guy or two. It just really kind of like hits you when you sit down and think about it, that like we hyper focus on this stuff and it just kind of, the world will spin with it without you.
Right. So. Exactly. Yeah. So
it's a grim reality.
It is. And it was really, it was definitely a shock to the system. And then you're already emotional after having a baby and then kind of
I can't imagine.
So I was like, I want to find something that helps and is still in transportation and still helps brokerages.
Just maybe flows a little better into your current events.
Right. I was like, I want to work from home, because we're kind of on the outskirts. There's not any companies out here in the town we live in.
I mean, work from home when you're very experienced in your career, that's just kind of the no-brainer move these days. I mean, I like the hybrid stuff. I like the team environment. But when you know what you're doing in your career, you don't really need to be driving to an office. I don't want to get into that debate. I'm kind of on
the whole work from home debate, right?
I can say I love it. That's a beat like a dead horse, that debate. So.
Yeah, I love it though. I ended up looking at just transportation technology companies and found a really great newer TMS company called TURVO. Yeah, I hadn't really heard of them before, but and this was in 2021. So they were like an established company, everything. They weren't like brand new.
I can't remember which brokerage used them exclusively. I know it was obviously more than one, but it won't hit me right at this exact moment. But we had this one brokerage like, make sure you accept TRUVO tracking, that's TURVO tracking. Like everyone would say it to you that way every single time. Like if the driver didn't accept it, you couldn't get the rate gone. So I'd always tell my driver, I'm like, please download TURVO, please. And like, I already have so many apps. I'm like, well, you're just gonna get one more so we can get this load.
Right. Yeah, my husband had just a folder of like tracking apps like on his phone.
Yeah, I like their name. I like their Raycon. The design of it was like really pretty.
Yeah, it's really, so like everything's super visual, like really nice UIs and like easy to work in. But I actually started there as a BDR, right? So I went from being a branch manager to like not even entry-level sales. Like I was business development, purely doing like outreach, handling inbound leads. I would have like a 15-minute meeting to qualify them and then pass them to the actual sales team.
Fun, right? I mean, did you have fun? I don't know. You tell me.
I did. Yeah. So it was like quite a step down in responsibility. And I used to always joke when I was the manager, like I need to keep everyone in the boat fed. And I was like, I just have to feed myself now,
Yeah. You just get the weight has been like let go.
Yes, the weight was lifted. But pretty early on there, the solutions engineering manager, director, he was like, hey, I saw you on this company-wide meeting, and I liked the way that you talked about this thing here. Have you ever thought of being a solutions engineer? And I said, what's a solutions engineer?
Yeah, I was thinking it. I don't want to say it. I was thinking it.
I know, like, what the heck is that? When he explained it to me, it seemed like the best of every past experience that I had had. So it's dabbling a little in sales, a little on the technical side. It's figuring out, what are you trying to do? Why are you trying to do it? And then really putting that into, here's how you can accomplish those goals or, priorities with TURVO. And it was demoing. It was, again, a little bit more on the technical side. You're not the salesperson, right? But I thought, okay, well, at my catering jobs and everything, I gave tours of the facility, right? So that's kind of like a demo.
Same thing.
Yeah. And I was a coach. So it's like kind of teaching people like, hey, here's how you can do this thing, but not
I like your internal monologues and your a reasoning of going like the transferable skills from all your past experiences just shining through.
Yeah, I was just like, my wheels were turning like that meme, all the numbers floating in front of your face.
Yeah, that lady's head with all this stuff going on.
I was like, oh, well, this does sound like I do want that role. So yeah, they I applied, and he put me through the gauntlet. He was like, you have to give me a demo. You have to, go through these steps. And I was like, all right, let's do it. But that's how
I actually wanted to tell you that, I've sat through more than my fair share of just people hitting me up and like, hey, can I pitch slap you something? I'm like, sure. I don't know, the way you speak, just it's so much cleaner and it's comfortable. And I think that's the thing, right? Somebody said it to me where this company, the tech is great. The thing that they're doing is great. I think it's going to be a success. But the guy who made it needs to hire a salesman because this is not how you pitch products to people, And I think I've just sat through so many meetings where the person pitching it to me just is not good at their job. And I just you just glaze over and just let it happen. And then just and just turn it off.
It is a science and an art, it's a really hard role. Because you have to have all those skills. You have to have
you have to be an all-star, an all-around complete human to be in pitching people stuff.
Exactly. So I really loved the role, obviously. And you said high performer earlier. I will try to do my best and beat everybody and crush everybody at everything. So that's what I tried to do over the next couple of years. And I was promoted to a senior solutions engineer again, right? And had some pretty cool things there. So we did the live FreightWaves demos, the 7-minute rapid fire. So I did a couple of those. That was also a lot of fun. I got to write, what is it we want to show, write the script and all of that, and write the demo script and practice, and then get on stage and actually perform that in front of people. So that was a lot of fun. And and then I just kind of started thinking, I miss that smaller company,
that vibe, man, that energy, that feeling, that ability to create change, and that ability to kind of be a part of something. I mean, that's something that I found in my career as well. As I always benefited and always flourished in those environments where you're not just a number and everybody kind of gets to touch everything in the company.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was missing that. I was missing the, multiple hats and really making an impact, right? Because since it is related to sales, you are, directly impacting, the performance of the company. With the solutions engineering role, it's kind of an add-on there. So you are judged by accounts closing and everything, even though you're not 100% in control of that, right? You don't dive into the sales side where it's pricing, contract negotiations, all that kind of stuff. You're just I have the technical win. They know it can do what they need. They like that it can do all these things.
Yeah, it kind of sucks when your performance kind of relies on, other people, and there's nothing you can really do about it.
Right. Yeah. And those last steps, I always felt like I was bugging the salespeople.
Just let me do it. I want to do it. Let me, it's mine. That energy coming in.
Yeah. How's this going? Have they got the contract yet? Have they asked you from the point of the last demo on? I was like, hey, how's this one every day? So sure, the salespeople loved that. But yeah, so I then switched gears. So as of last year, I moved over to Navix as their first true senior solutions engineer.
Okay, so you kept the role. No way, that's actually
I did. Yeah, nice. I kept the role.
Nice, nice. So take me through the elevator pitch on Navix. And like you said, obviously you like the smaller environment feeling and ability to create impact. So take me through the size of the company, what do you guys do, and the services you offer.
Yeah, so we are 4 years old at Navix, so fairly new, but our company size, we're under 50 employees. So it's a tight-knit group, and we do freight audit automation. And I know that everybody listening is probably fixing to turn this off because they heard freight
Yeah.
audit.
So I mean, if you were to explain that to like the general population,
Right.
what would that look like in English
Yeah.
terms?
So everything that you don't think about that gets you paid as a broker, that's what we handle. So
Okay, I don't think they're gonna turn it off now that it's
don't
regarding
turn it
their
off. You want to
getting
get
paid.
paid. Yeah,
Yeah.
you want to get paid. For most people, this freight audit is like a black hole at their company. Nobody really knows what happens. They just know that after carriers send them stuff, it either goes straight to like a accounting email, or maybe they're like, hey, accounting people, here's paperwork, here's POD.
Here's the POD. Here's the scale ticket. Pay me.
Yeah, good luck. And then the accounting people go, okay, everything from when the load delivers, or sometimes for LTL, it's after pickup, right? They're going to start sending in paperwork. So we collect all that paperwork, all the different ways people could send it, email, API, EDI. We classify the documents with some cool machine learning tech stuff and pull off all of the data from those documents. And then we have an automated audit that happens. So everything that a person would normally do to make sure I want to approve this for payment, but I also want to make sure that I have what I need to invoice my customer. That's everything that Navix automates.
Yeah, I mean, of course, that's sort of, as we talked about at the very start of this, it's kind of like full circle moment, right? Because it's like, oh, like nobody really thinks about how stuff goes into trucks and how stuff ends up at the table. And it's sort of exactly the same thing within the trucking industry. It's like nobody really knows what happens. Like you said, oh, like you send it to the accounting email, it doesn't exist in your mind ever again. So
yeah, even if you got a great rate up front and you're like, yes, got this great win. If you don't get paid, none of that matters. All the work that you've done out on the floor is just gone if you never get a POD, or if you're never able to invoice your customer because you're missing, some paperwork, or you didn't add the lumper, right? Like, you didn't add that to the customer side. So now we've lost $200.
Yep. So take me through who you guys service, the type of, size of brokerages, stuff like this. You guys are servicing, I would assume, exclusively brokerages at this point.
Right now, we're focused on brokerage and intermediaries, 3PLs, whatever they want to call themselves. Yeah, all that. We do have some customers that also have assets. So we are kind of evaluating right now. There's not much that really changes in the audit between broker and asset. So, we're kind of looking at our current platform. I don't think that there's any really like enhancements that would need to be done to do asset audit as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking in my head. I was like, it kind of seems like, a beneficial thing. Just like, hey, carriers, you guys hate paperwork the most. You want some help?
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, I would say anyone that's thinking like, man, I had to stay after 2 hours yesterday just to process some paperwork so I can make sure that I can invoice my customer, or make sure I can, pay those carriers. Anytime you're thinking like that, we typically have, all sizes of companies, really. Anyone from, we do have some that are like kind of just starting out, maybe 400, 500 loads a month, obviously all the way up to like your biggest, baddest, thousands of loads per month. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the once you start getting up to the 3-letter people.
Yeah, the 3-letter people.
I saw a good link to post about that. It's like every company has like step one of these words, step two, one of these things.
You like last name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Last name or 3 letters. Yeah.
I mean, take me through the elevator pitch on Navix. We'll head into some fun stuff, and we'll try to get out of here in the next 10-ish or so minutes.
Sure. Yeah. So where we stand apart from other providers, because there are other solutions that do this. For one, we are focused only on audit. We want to get you paid, make sure that you can invoice your customer and approve those payments as quick as possible. We don't offer payments. So our focus is laser focused on that audit.
Yeah, you're not factoring in any sense of
right. So we have no incentive to get you to the payment part quicker. and leave out the invoicing part.
Oh, we
right?
have every intention of getting you to the payment part as it should be, like the correct
Yes,
way, with no
exactly.
incentive of making you do it the wrong way.
Right. And we can handle all modes except parcel. Parcel is its own, beast out there. But you think LTL, drayage, multimodal, everything besides just straightforward truckload. A lot of systems can't handle that, but we do. And we are time and time again, as new customers come on board, within the first month, people are seeing ROI, which is, I want my return on my investment as soon as possible. So within the first month, we see people not only able to handle more volume per day with less people, right? So less cost, because you're not having as many people do that, or you're doing that in way less hours per day.
Yep.
And increasing their cash flow. All three of those are happening within the first month of somebody coming on board. So you think about, if it takes me 3 days to get through all this paperwork and invoice my customer, that's 3 days that I haven't invoiced them. So, now I'm reducing that, right? For some companies, that could be millions of dollars in cash flow that they're just kind of not able to capture, but then also doing more volume with less people at the same time while keeping it faster. So all three of those things.
Yeah, all of those things, those all sound like great things. And like you said, if my ROI is going to be in the first 30 to 60 days, I'm obviously going to be happy as somebody purchasing. And I think that not a lot of companies make claims like that, because not a lot of companies can actually do stuff like that. And a lot of companies are like, hey, just pay us, and like, hopefully it works. Like, that's the kind of the sales pitches I get these days. I'm like, I don't know, like.
Right. Yeah. We're like, and in my role, I'm one of the first people they talk to. So in those first conversations, it's, what are you trying to accomplish? What are your goals? Where are you at today? Where do you want to be? And we carry that all the way through to implementation, to say, this is where they were at. This is what they want to do and where they want to be. So then our customer success people get to say, this is where you're tracking, or you've hit those goals, and you get that, like, those green flags of, hey, we are doing these things that we wanted to do. So it is working.
Yeah, that's really cool. Really great structure. Wish you guys all the best. And I think, it would be maybe like a beneficial thing for most people. Like you said, hey, do you want to get paid? Yes, I do. Yes, everybody does. So
yeah,
let's see how that all works out. I want to touch base with you just before we get out of here on the whole, like, Olympic weightlifting stuff. I mean, like, let's talk fitness for a minute here. Since I've started my journey, we're heading into a triathlon where we're trying to be agents of change in the industry.
Yeah. So I started my fitness journey at the age of 2. I started ballet. If you can definitely count that as fitness. But yeah,
for those that don't know, yes, that is like very difficult. And
it's very difficult, right? So
demanding.
I hadn't touched a barbell or done anything exercise wise besides just dance until my freshman year of college. So I was a dance major to start. So I did ballet in college. You can actually get a degree, fine arts in ballet. Wow. But I switched majors because I thought, I do want to eat, graduate and afford food. Yes. So not a lot of job opportunities for ballerinas, but yeah. So I switched majors to hospitality management, and I thought, I still need to do something to stay in shape. And at the time, it was the first year that the CrossFit Games were like a big thing. They weren't even big, but they were actually at a place where they were like, here's the CrossFit Games. And I had seen some recordings online, and I was like, I want to do that. That looks fun. Yeah, I found a local gym, and I've been doing CrossFit ever since. But, in the middle there, I was like, I'm actually really good at lifting, and I really hate all this cardio stuff. So
yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at with that. I love lifting weights. Absolutely cannot stand the cardio.
I absolutely hate it. And I guess that makes me a masochist now, because I'm doing CrossFit again. It's just, there's no other way that for me, I can just go there 3 hours a week. I don't have to think about it even a minute before or a minute after. I'm not, oh, what am I going to do today? What are my sets? What are my reps? Right. I've done some bodybuilding stuff in the middle too. So like all that programming, I don't have to think about it. But I can go there just an hour, 3 times a week and, maintain my fitness. And I really enjoy it. I'm really competitive. But I've always told people, and I'll tell this to you, do what you enjoy and what you will keep doing, because over the 15 years that I've been doing this, CrossFit, lifting, all that, I've kept doing it because I like it, right? And if you're going to start something, if you don't like it, you're not going to stick with it. So it's not going to help your health at all.
I mean, I think you have two really good points there. Obviously, that being do what you enjoy. If it's, weightlifting, do the weightlifting. If it's cardio, do the cardio. But I think the other thing, and what really helped me too, is I'm sort of like that min-max kind of guy where like if I'll go into the gym, I want to like everything to be perfect. I want to not waste like a minute, like one rep of effort. When I got back into my fitness journey, I ended up finding a guy in my local gym. And like he was, good size, and he's like, hey, like let's just train together. So I just got to show up and just do what he does, so I don't have to think about anything. I just have to show up, put in the work, and leave. And I think when you get to take your mind out of it and the stress of like optimizing your workouts, it's really beneficial because you just have to show up, put in the work, and go home.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And on the side of that, obviously nutrition, I'll say the fitness part for me is a lot easier to be just really consistent and, just show up and do it. The nutrition things, I used to like program people's nutrition for them and all of that. And even with all that knowledge, there are still like these slumps that I think about that I go through where I'm like,
gotta eat some pizza here and there.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to eat that way. Or I'll look over at my husband and be like, what do I need to change in order to, XYZ, right? And he's like, you used to program this stuff for people. You know exactly what you need to do. And I was like, I don't want to do it. Yeah.
I hit the brick wall too. Like, I just don't want to eat eggs sometimes. I just don't want to eat the same thing sometimes. I just want to eat some hamburger. Like, but that goes back to the saying, right? Like, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I mean, enjoy stuff. Don't make yourself hate yourself and hate your lifestyle, because again, you're not going to stick with it. And don't, feel bad about having those days where you eat whatever you want.
100%. Yeah. It's definitely every day you either move closer or further away from your goals. So if you have the majority of your days moving closer, you're definitely on the right track. Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really solid place to end it. And like I said, we're going to be running that triathlon, me, Lombard, Nick. I'm happy to see you posting some stuff on LinkedIn. And I mean, that's what got me off the couch is people being consistent with their workouts and people in trucking, because I was like, well, these people don't get it. They're not in trucking. They don't deal with what we deal with. And now I see people in trucking. I'm like, okay, now I don't have any more excuses. Let me
exactly
go outside, go for a run. Like.
Exactly.
As we wrap this up, we're going to go to the last question, chicken wing choices, chicken wing related questions. Okay. So in the theme of cheat meals, I'm assuming you eat chicken wings here and there.
Do love them. Yes.
Okay. All right. So when you eat chicken wings, you going with drums or flats?
Flats.
Do you do the thing where you do like the bone trick and then you pull out like the chunk of meat?
No.
Oh, okay, so you just eat this. Okay, so see, you don't even have the argument for why you like flats, because that's
I just like them.
The argument. Yeah, okay.
I just like them, but I feel like when I finish, it's so clean, and then when you're at a drum, and then you're like,
those gnarly bits that you can't really eat.
So much left. Yeah, there's so much left on there. So wait.
That's a pretty fair answer, actually. And we're going ranch or blue cheese on the dipping sauce?
Blue cheese.
Okay, that's great. And breaded or non-breaded?
Non-breaded.
Non-breaded. I don't know. Like, am I the only one that likes breaded wings? I swear it's been non-breaded like 10 episodes in a row. Like,
well, I like fried chicken. And I love like we make fried chicken all the time. But if it's wings, I don't think, oh, fried chicken. I think.
Do you like them dripping sauce? Like just no bread, just like dunked in sauce everywhere?
Sauce everywhere.
Sauce everywhere. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Ashley, for joining me. I had a great conversation with you, and I wish you and Navix all the best. And if you ever want to come back, just let me know.
All right. Thanks.
That's going to wrap up episode whatever this ends up being when it releases. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my trip in Sweden, hopefully bring you guys some logistics content and see kind of how trucking works out here. And that's going to be it for me.